Here's a slight oxymoron for you. As a cleaning business owner, you are not only the biggest catalyst for your business's success, but you're also the biggest bottleneck. Let's talk about that. I'm coming to you live from Melbourne right now. I'm a few days late on this podcast actually because I didn't plan accordingly and my flight to Melbourne coincided with the time I usually do this podcast. So that was a bit of a blunder from me, but I'm here in Melbourne. I'm about 3 days in, and tomorrow I'm really excited because we're doing our first ever Melbourne meetup for booked out cleaners. So me and I think 9 others are coming, including Mrs. Muscle and some other lovely people from the group. So we're going to catch up, talk shop, and just have a good chat and really meet up and connect because we haven't seen each other in person before. So it's going to be really good for us to network with each other because, like I always say, we're all in this together. So it's really good when we can connect with other fellow cleaning business owners and create relationships with them because, you know, I've got some great friends in the industry now, like Mrs. Muscle, like Scott and Gabby from Kings, and it's all from networking and just going to events that are in the space and connecting, and it's just been really good. So I've got that in the works. I've got a few jobs to do in Melbourne. I've got a bit of work to do, but also a bit of leisure. So that's a whole lot of fun. And but let's get into it. So as a cleaning business owner, you are not only the biggest catalyst for your own success, but you're also the biggest bottleneck. So let's talk about that. The whole point of this is delegation. So not to get all whimsical and pie in the sky here, it's all about delegation. I'm a big proponent for delegating. I'm very outspoken about how important it is, and it's the reason I'm in the position that I'm in today. So I'm going to talk about my kind of stages and the evolution of the delegation that I do, as well as how you should start, what things you should begin to delegate, how that all looks and how that's going to fall into place, and also just a lot of the setbacks and successes that I had along the way to get to where I am now. So at a high level, business is really, really simple. You know, as the CEO or as the founder or the director, at a certain level, all you do is get reports from your subordinates, the people below you. So in a really big company, if you've got a full C-suite, which is like, you know, you've got the CFO, CEO, COO, CMO, that is the C-suite. You've got a whole suite of different executives that run their own departments. So at a really high level, the CEO simply gets reports from the CMO. He looks at the marketing scope for the month. He looks at all the analytics, the reporting, sees how all the ads are tracking, and then he'll get a report from the operations officer, and he'll see how things are running. He'll see what bottlenecks the business is facing. He'll see, what needs improvement. You'll see what areas are really doing well and that they should continue to focus more resources on. And, the CFO will send through the financial reports, update the CEO on the P&L, the balance sheets, all that stuff. And so at a really, really high level, all business is you're just getting reports from other people. It's just delegation. And, even the people that are reporting to the CEO, they're getting reports from their subordinates. So the CMO is getting reports from the marketing team, and whoever the marketing team lead is, they're reporting to the CFO. So it's just like a pyramid of delegation. And even on a small scale in a cleaning business, you can be sub $100,000 a year in turnover. You can be $1 million, you can be $10 million. You still need to be delegating a lot of stuff. So when I was at around 100 to 200,000, that's when I started to delegate with a VA. A VA is the easiest way you can begin to delegate in a business. You can allocate really simple tasks like admin, like invoicing, scheduling, client relations, like emailing and stuff like that. Really, really simple stuff. And the idea here is you don't want to get caught in the technician trap. Now, if you've ever read a book called The E-Myth, it touches on this exact concept. So if you haven't read The E-Myth before, it talks about the concept of the technicians, the managers, and the entrepreneurs. So pretty much in business, you ideally want to be the entrepreneur. That's the person that steers the ship. That's the person that takes the business in the direction that it needs to go and will pass down, the way of the world to the manager. And then the manager is the person that, manages things, puts the people, the technicians in the right place to do the right work, to move the company forward in its mission that the entrepreneur has set out for it. And then the technician, really simple, they're the people that do the work. In our business, the technicians are the cleaners. And in some cleaning businesses, they actually call their staff cleaning techs. In carpet cleaning, carpet cleaners are often referred to as cleaning techs. So the technicians are the one that should be doing the quote grunt work, and the managers should be managing that work, overseeing that work, and reporting to the entrepreneur or the founder or the CEO. So that should be you. Here's the thing though. The majority of cleaning business owners are technicians. 95% of all the work they do in their business is cleaning. They're doing the thing. Okay? And so I want you to think about this. Look at what you're doing now. Okay? Realistically, I bet you're spending 1/20th of the time in your business on growth-driven tasks as opposed to cleaning, which is 5%. So 5% of the work you're doing right now in your business is actually growing your business. And that must change, But you don't need to give up cleaning and therefore revenue and profit. But you can instead, like I said, allocate those really simple tasks to a VA or another delegate that you either don't want to do, you don't have time to do, or are worth less than the other tasks that currently occupy your time. Like if you're a window cleaner, you can make on average like $200 an hour, maybe $150 an hour. And so if you can employ even just a receptionist for $25 an hour to handle all of the other stuff that you need to do, but you just don't want to be doing, so that you can maximize your time by doing the really high value tasks like window cleaning, for example, which is going to get you $150 to $200 an hour, then that is a no-brainer. And of course, you're still going to be doing the work. But the point is, even on a small scale, you can allocate stuff that is low value to a delegate so that you can focus on the high value stuff. And then you can build up your bank, get to a point where you can then hire more technicians, more cleaners, and then you can build a management team, and then you can really step back and just look at the business from afar and just continue to steer the ship. Okay? So you need to go from, and this is a big mindset shift, you need to go from the guy or gal who owns a job to business owner. This is a bit of a controversial thing. I see a lot of people, especially in the Facebook groups where, like Cleaning Business Owners Australia, you see the things that they talk about in there, really, really trivial stuff. And the majority of the people in these groups, they're not business owners. They're just people who own a job. All they do is clean. There is no growth. They complain about things as if business is not supposed to be full of these problems. Every time they get a setback, they're like, the world is so unfair. Why is this happening to me? Is this happening to anyone else? It's like, yes, that's business. This is what you signed up for. If you're not prepared to take on these risks and these challenges and go through the setbacks and the trials and tribulations and all that stuff, you should not be a business owner. So all of those people simply own a job. They do not own a business. And the main reason for that is because they never delegate anything. They spend all of their time doing the technician work. 95% of their time is just going to be spent on that. And so do you think you can realistically grow a business if 5% of your time is spent on actually growing the business? If 5% of all the time you spend in your business is growing the business, do you really think that you can grow it? No, that's not how it works. I didn't really start to explode the growth in my business until I fully stepped back. I was doing well. I went from 100,000 to 200,000 to 400,000. And then I started to kind of hit an area of resistance. But then once I promoted Stacy up, once I trained another VA, once I got some more helpers, I got supervisors and team leaders, and I fully stepped back from the business and just focused on steering the ship, just on the vision and the mission. That's when we went to $1 million plus. And now we're well past, multiple seven figures. We're on our way to 3 million, and things are really starting to fall into place. And I'm experiencing the most growth I ever have at a point in my business where I am not involved much at all. So there is the oxymoron, right? The most growth that I've experienced in my business is when I'm not doing any of the work. I do post stuff on TikTok. Obviously, I post videos of me cleaning. I don't clean much at all. I might clean one day a week, and it'll be like a half day, and I'll just use that for content because that's my top of funnel stuff, and that's what gets people into my audience, into my ecosystem. But that's going to be, that'll be another episode. I'll talk about all that stuff. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Right now, and there's no shame in this. I just want to preface by saying that there's no shame in this. If you do fall into that category of someone who owns a job rather than a business owner, there is no shame in that. We all start there. I started there and I was stuck there for about a year. In fact, a lot of the people that come into Booked Out Cleaners, they're actually way further along than I was at that stage of the journey. I'm constantly speaking to people who are like 6 months in and they've got a team of 3 or 4 people and they're like, I feel like I'm plateauing. I feel like I'm slowing down. I don't know how to get to the next stage. And then I just say to them, like, when I was 6 months in, I was still by myself. I didn't have a team like you did. My revenue wasn't anywhere near yours. And so you're actually doing way better than me. And if you keep up that trajectory and you keep that pace and that momentum, 5 years from now, you could have, a $5 million business. So it's all a matter of perspective. And that's another thing I want to get into in maybe another episode, is just about comparison and why you shouldn't compare yourself to what you see out there on the internet and on social media, because it's an absolute plague. But anyway, so delegation, it's the most vital epicenter of any business. As the business owner, you have to get to a point where you can start to delegate things. And so I'm going to talk about the progression of my journey and how I delegated stuff and at what points and who I delegated to and all that stuff. But so I just wanted to put that out there. There's no shame in feeling like you just own a job and you don't own a business yet. That's just the starting point. So let this be day one of your journey to a real business owner that has an asset, that has people working in it, that can do all the work that you shouldn't be doing, so that you can just focus on steering the ship and growing the business. So anyway, these are some of the things that you should delegate first, okay? So like I said before, the really simple stuff like scheduling, invoicing, and low-level admin work. If you think about this, you can employ someone for $20 an hour, or even just a VA for $5 an hour to do all of that stuff. And then you can just replace that time with cleaning, because at least then you get a 10 times higher return on investment. If you have a VA for $5 an hour doing the stuff that you were doing before, you can then replace that time with cleaning, which can net you $60 an hour. So that is like a 12 times return on your VA, if that makes sense. But then you should obviously delegate cleaning. If you're busy and you've got consistent leads coming in and you know that you can predictably get more customers, you should be getting staff in so that you can delegate the cleaning. Then you can start to multiply and leverage your time and other people's time, because that's where the real money comes in a business. It's from leveraging other people's time. And when that happens as well, your whole mindset and your perspective on money will shift, because you're no longer trading your time for money. You're trading other people's time for money. And so it really opens up a new realm of business and life, and therefore lifestyle as well, which is really, really cool. So then you get to a point where you can delegate hiring and training. So you can get we've got an operations coordinator, Emma. She does like all the hiring, all the HR and stuff like that, and all the onboarding. And then we also have team leaders and supervisors that do the training. And so I'm going to take you back to kind of when I started, or about a year in, which is when I started to delegate. So I didn't have staff for about a year. I'd say about 9 months in is where I started to hire staff, because like most people, I was really scared and I just didn't know where to start, and I wasn't sure how to do it and if it was the right thing. And anyway, about 9 months in, I hired my first cleaner. Wasn't a great fit, so then I hired my second person. That was Stacy. She was amazing, as we all know. Here we are today, and she's running the business. So yeah, I hired Stacy, and that was my first experience with delegation. And at the time, I didn't really think about what I was doing. I didn't realize that I was actually delegating and leveraging someone else's time. I was just like, my mindset at the time was that I was so overworked, and I still had people coming in that I just needed to get someone else in to help me out, because I was also scared of the fact that if I get sick or if I get injured, I am beyond screwed. So 9 months in, hired my first cleaner, and that kind of set me off on the path of delegating and hiring. Okay, so I did that for a while, and I got to about 4 or 5 staff. And at that point, again, I was kind of just sick of doing a lot of the low value tasks. I was looking at it and I was like, why am I the one doing data entry? Why am I the one that's just putting all of these people into a database? Why am I invoicing people? Why am I doing the schedule every week? At this point, the business is doing like $250,000, and I'm doing tasks that realistically can be done by someone else for like $20 an hour. So at that point, I got my VA, my first VA, Jessa. She's still with us today. Again, she is amazing. So I got her. She does a lot of the menial tasks, and over the years, we've trained her up now to the point where she can actually do some really high level stuff. And she's on still, relative to Australian wages, she is well below minimum wage. But in her country, in the Philippines, it's a very good wage. But anyway, that's when I got her in, and that was around, I want to say 2 years in. So yeah, we had that system going for a while, continued to steadily grow the business, and I never felt overworked. I never felt overwhelmed because I had that system of delegation where I had the VA, I had cleaners, but I was still the manager. I wasn't the entrepreneur yet. So I went from technician to then manager, and then I had to bridge that gap between manager and entrepreneur. So I knew that I had to get someone who was going to replace me. I was so scared to do this. I had no idea where to begin. And so I figured the best way to start would just be to get someone from within the team who showed a bit of promise, who I could trust, who I knew was loyal, that seemed eager to give it a go. And obviously that was Stacey. She didn't seem that eager to do it. She really didn't think she could. And we talked about that in my podcast with her. But yeah, she was very scared to do it, but I kind of knew that she had it in her. So I gave her that push, and I put her into the management role so that I could step back and become the entrepreneur. So that was about 3 years in, I think. And now here we are, about 5 years later. And now we've got, I want to say four layers of management now, if you include me. There's me, there's Stacey, there's Emma, and then there's the admin team. So that's the journey to now. It is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It took me 5 years to get to the point where I am now. But now I have a very, very solid baseline, and I've got a very solid team and a very solid set of systems to continue growing. And, we can keep this infrastructure going to $5 million a year. We don't really need to change much. And it's like that for anyone. Once you get that system going, once you get that core set of team and the core set of people and core set of principles, you can really just take it sky high. And that's the beautiful thing about it. But it all starts that day when you say to yourself that I'm no longer going to be a technician. I am going to delegate. I'm going to remove myself from this business, or at least plan to remove myself from this business at a certain date. And if you want a good tip here, because it's hard to kind of gauge when you can do this, you might be able to say, 3 months from now, I feel like I'll be able to do it. That's not really good enough. Here's a tip that I learned from a book I read a long time ago. I can't remember the name, but the premise of the book was, how to build a business that you can step away from. And the author of the book said, at a certain point, you're going to keep pushing it further and further back. The goalposts are going to keep getting pushed further and further back. And you're going to keep saying like, next week I'll do it. Next month I'll do it. Next month, the month after next month I'll do it. I'll finally step back and remove myself. What I want you to do is, whatever point you are in your business, just set yourself an ultimatum. Say 3 months from now, or 6 months from now, or even 12 months from now, I'm going to take a holiday. And I want you to book that holiday. I want you to pay for the ticket. I want you to pay for the accommodation so that there's no turning back and there's no excuses. And from now until that point, I want you to just work on getting to that goal, whether it be hiring a VA so that they can manage all the admin while you're away, hiring a manager or promoting a manager, or promoting your first team leader. You can just give yourself a weekend away down south or up north. Or if you want to go big, like I did, I booked myself a month off. Okay, so this was 2023, I think. Around September, August, I booked myself a month off. And in the 5 or so months leading up to that, I worked as hard as I could to get Stacey trained up. And at that point, she wasn't fully ready. But because I'd set that goal for myself, because I'd set that ultimatum, I just had to go. And I disconnected myself from the business for an entire month. When I came back, was it in ruins? Was it on fire? Had everything blown up? No. Stacey had grown the business by a couple $100,000 a year. So it worked really well. And if I didn't set myself that ultimatum, I don't think I ever would have fully separated myself from the business for a prolonged period of time, which was really necessary not only for my mental sanity and also for my own personal growth, but for the business as well. It was just necessary that I had to step back from the business in order for it to get set on that growth path to lead us to where we are now. So set yourself an ultimatum, whether it's big or small. It can just be a night away at a hotel. It can be 2 days away somewhere. It can be a week. It can be a month like I did. But just set yourself an ultimatum and set a goal for that. So the goal should be to hire a VA, to hire a cleaner, to hire or promote a supervisor, or promote or hire a team leader or manager or whatever it may be. And then from now until that point, you need to work towards that goal. And even if you fall short of it, that's okay. At least you made progress. Because without that goal, without that ultimatum, I can guarantee for the majority of people, you will never get there. I know that I wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't do it for myself. So that's a really good tip. And yeah, just start small. It's easy to overthink it. You can be someone who's like, when I was by myself, when I had no staff, I was like, how am I going to grow this business? How am I going to get to a point where I have managers, and how am I going to like be a CEO, or how am I going to have a team? And what I didn't realize is that I just had to start. I just had to declare that from that day forward, I was just going to take baby steps. I was just going to do stuff and then see what happened, and then adjust and just react. So I started small. I had a VA, I had cleaners, and then I had a manager. Then I had team leaders, and then I had a manager. And now I have an assistant manager to that manager. And what's the next step going to be? I'm probably going to have a HR manager, and then I'm going to have a regional manager that can manage more than one location. So it just gets bigger and bigger. But if I took myself back 3 years ago or 4 years ago and tried to envision how to get to where I am now, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have been so overwhelmed. I would have had absolutely no idea how to get to where I am now. So I think for the majority of people, it's important that you just start small. Just do it in bite-sized quantities. Just take baby steps. Don't try to overthink it. Don't try to don't get too analytical about it to the point where nothing will ever get done. I see a few people like that. There's a couple people inside Booked Out Cleaners that just keep pushing back their release date, or they keep pushing back whatever that thing is. There's some people in there who have been in Booked Out Cleaners for 5 months and haven't launched their business yet because they keep overthinking it. Done is better than perfect. I love that quote. Done is better than perfect. I stewed over how my logo should look for 3 months before I even started my business. Do you think that helped me? Do you think it really mattered that much how my logo looked? Or do you think it mattered more if I just started rather than stressed about that for months and months? Now my only regret, when people ask me what my biggest regret is, my only regret is that I didn't start sooner, because the compounding effect takes place. And if I started a year or 2 or 3 years earlier, I could be 10x ahead of where I am right now. So done is better than perfect. It's much, much better than perfect. And a lot of people like me who really struggle with being a perfectionist and just wanting to get everything perfect from day one, it's really, really hard to reckon with that. And it can be really hard to let go. It can be hard to let go of that idea, that way of thinking. And then further along, it can be hard to let go of control in your business, which is another thing that I struggled with. So, at a certain point, you will just have to let go. You will just have to relinquish that control and trust that you can delegate things to others. Because if you don't, if you never do that, then your business will never grow and you will never have a real business. Because I don't think a business is someone who just does a service or delivers a service or a product and gets paid. I think you just own a job if you do that. To me, a business is a body of people. It has a set of systems. It has a good, healthy customer base. It has a predictable measure for getting new clients, and it has proper infrastructure with delegation and people that know what they're doing. All right, that is a business. So that's what you need to work on if you're not really there yet, or if you haven't started yet. Try to get yourself out of the technician trap. Try not to be the technician forever. Obviously, we all have to start there. There's nothing wrong with that. I started there 5 years ago. If you're still there, just start to delegate things. Set yourself an ultimatum. Set yourself some little milestones along the way. Figure out a plan for how to get yourself out of the business, or even just to delegate some of your office tasks so that you can do more cleaning, even just to maximize your profitability. And then you can hire a manager, then you can think about all that stuff. But the point is, just work out how delegation is going to look in your world, how delegation is going to work in your business, because everyone's business is going to be different. Your journey will not be the same as mine. It will not be the same as the next person's, and that's okay. There is going to be a lot of, there is going to be a bit of guesswork. There is going to be a bit of, there's going to be those times where you don't really know what to do, and you can't really just Google it or refer to the playbook, because a lot of the time it hasn't been done before, not in the exact way that you need to do it. And that's just the beauty of business. A lot of stuff we're going to have to figure out by ourselves, but we can get a sense of direction from looking at what others have done. So hopefully you can take a bit of this and apply it to your own life and your own business, and just take this as a token of reassurance that it does get easier. There is a process, albeit a slightly longer one than most people would hope for or anticipate. And so just make this day one. Make this day one of your journey to removing yourself from the business, to becoming a real entrepreneur rather than a technician or a manager. So that's all I wanted to share with you today. I will hopefully do something tomorrow as well. I might film a bit of stuff at our Melbourne meetup with our fellow Booked Out Cleaners members. So that's going to be really fun. Really excited to meet some of you there. I apologize if the audio quality on this podcast isn't the greatest, by the way. I'm just recording this on like a 6-year-old lapel microphone that I bought ages ago. So yeah, just thought I'd pump this episode out now while I'm here in the hotel room, just kind of pondering. And yeah, I love Melbourne. I haven't been here since I was 16, I think. So it's changed a lot in that time. And, it's only been 8 years since then. And, but Melbourne's really changed, and really beautiful place. And the weather's not too bad this time of year. So shout out to Melbourne. Great city you got over here. And the flight over here from Perth was only 2 hours and 45 minutes, which blew me away. I didn't expect it to be so quick. So yeah, Booked Out Cleaners meetup tomorrow. It's going to be at 11:30 a.m. If you're in Booked Out Cleaners, all the info is inside the school community. So check that out. Let me know if you're coming. We're going to have about 8 or 9, maybe 10 people there. So it's going to be really fun. We're going to connect with each other, share some experiences and some stories, and also do a bit of workshopping on each other's businesses so that we can grow together, because a rising tide raises all ships, like I always like to say. As an individual, we can only do so much, but as a unit, we can really go to the stratosphere. So thanks for listening to another episode of Self-Made. I will hopefully speak to you again in a few days when I've got some more stuff, when I've got some more Melbourne content. So now that I've put that out into the world, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to record some stuff, and I'll talk to you soon.